Hello and welcome to Griswold Stadium on the campus of Lewis and Clark College for the second game of our Northwest Conference doubleheader. We've got the league-leading Whitman College Blues sitting at 4-0-0 in conference play, 5-0-3 overall, the lone team in the Northwest Conference who still has yet to suffer their first loss of the season against Lewis and Clark College men's soccer, who nearly picked up their first point in conference play in both games last weekend. A pair of tough losses, a 1-0 setback against George Fox with about a minute and 15 to go on Saturday, followed by a 2-1 loss to Pacific last Sunday, in which the Pioneers conceded with less than 30 seconds to go. This Pioneers team continues to get closer and closer, but still looking for that first ever Northwest Conference victory. Let's take a look at the stats, and you're going to see just why Whitman has been so successful this year. 16 goals through their first 8 games this season. A big part of it has been balanced scoring. 5 goals from Lucas McAllister, including a first 10-minute hat trick against Whitworth in a 3-1 win. But 3 goals from William Miranda Ortiz, 2 from Kevin Serrano, 2 more from Remy Marks. They have lots of players who can put the ball in the back of the net. For Lewis and Clark, they haven't scored all that often this year. Dylan Weinstein scored his team-leading second goal of the season last week against Pacific, but through 8 games, Lewis and Clark has scored 3 goals, 2 of which came in a 2-2 tie earlier this year to Northwest University Washington, an NAIA team from just outside Seattle. Lewis and Clark does have one of the top keepers in the conference. Micaiah Grand leads the entire Northwest Conference, 45 saves through his first 7 starts. He has a team best 750 save percentage and 2.50 goals against average. Right now, let's take a look at our players to watch for this matchup. And we had lots of different options on both sides. For Whitman, it is Lucas McAllister, the team's leading scorer, 5 goals, 3 assists, and that impressive hat trick against rival Whitworth, all in the first 10 minutes back on the 24th of September. He added an assist against Linfield this past weekend, and in fact has had at least 1 point in 3 straight games, 3 goals and 2 assists over his last 3. He's had at least 1 point in 3 of the team's 4 games for the senior out of Briar, Washington, and has 1 of Whitman's 5 game-winning goals thus far this year. For Lewis and Clark, it is their leading goal scorer, Dylan Weinstein, who had the goal against Pacific to tie the game at 1-1 before the Boxer scored late. Weinstein does a little bit of everything for Lewis and Clark, an impressive midfielder who can play box-to-box, 2 goals tops on the team, also leads the side with 11 shots and 7 shots on target. Weinstein is probably going to have to play an even bigger role today with no Sam London, the talented sophomore midfielder, out of Washington, unavailable today due to injury, so that just puts more pressure on the rest of the Pioneers midfield, not only to play defense, but to create and look to guys like Weinstein, Walson, and Brandon Painter to try to carry some of that load for Lewis and Clark's starting lineup. Right now, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we are going to bring you the starters here from Griswold Stadium. It's Lewis and Clark and Whitman playing Game 2 of our doubleheader after the Blues and Pioneers tied 1-1 in the first game earlier today.
Broadcast on PioStream is brought to you by the Lewis and Clark Alumni Marketplace. Go to lcpioneers.com/marketplace and search for products and services offered by Lewis and Clark alumni, including Gardenia Creative, which has chosen to spotlight a nonprofit friend of theirs, With Love. Based in Oregon, With Love has the mission to help foster families change the lives of children ages 0 to 6 by providing resources that nurture dignity, hope, and community. Many times, foster parents find out they are receiving a child mere hours before bringing them home. With Love provides safe, clean, quality clothing and supplies so foster parents can focus on loving their little one. You can help through financial gifts, volunteering, or donating items at withloveoregon.org. Thanks again to alumnus Laurel Carroll and Gardenia Creative for spotlighting this nonprofit partner.
Hello and welcome to Griswold Stadium on the campus of Lewis and Clark College for a Northwest Conference matchup between the visiting Whitman College Blues and your Lewis and Clark College Pioneers. The Blues come into this matchup at 4-0, 5-0-3, 4-0 in conference. Lewis and Clark sits at 0-7-1, 0-4 in Northwest Conference play. First, the starters for the visiting Blues. A junior back from Albany, Washington, number 4, Pablo Gonzalez Jr. A senior back from New Orleans, Louisiana, number 6, Jude Clum Stockton. A senior midfielder from Briar, Washington, number 10, Lucas McAllister. A junior back from Salem, Oregon, number 12, Alexander Perez Hernandez. A junior forward from Nagoya City, Japan, number 16, Takahiro Hikita. A sophomore midfielder from Portland, Oregon, number 20, Kevin Serrano. A first-year midfielder from Woodinville, Washington, number 21, Keegan Chapko. A first-year forward from Las Vegas, Nevada, number 22, William Miranda Ortiz. A sophomore back from Colton, Oregon, number 24, Spencer Lovell. A senior back from San Jose, California, number 27, Adrian Valencia. And in net for the Blues, a junior from Issaquah, Washington, number 0, Nicholas Izenzi. The Blues are coached by Jose Cedeno in his 10th season. He's assisted by Jose Beleche and Ricardo Sotelo. And now the starting lineup for your Lewis and Clark College Pioneers. A sophomore back from Agora Hills, California, number 2, Sam Gunderson. A sophomore back from Seattle, Washington, number 5, Talon Haywood. A senior forward from San Carlos, California, number 6, Ben Schwartz. A senior forward from Baltimore, Maryland, number 11, Ashir Wilson. A sophomore back from Seattle, Washington, number 13, Alistair Alstad. A junior midfielder from Seattle, Washington, number 15, Dylan Weinstein. A junior back from Seattle, Washington, number 16, Emmett Olson. A sophomore midfielder from Eagle River, Alaska, number 26, Brandon Painter. A first-year midfielder from Redmond, Washington, number 27, Ren Fukuoka. A first-year midfielder from Ladera Ranch, California, number 32, Raph Ladd. And in net for your Pioneers, a junior from Honolulu, Hawaii, number 77, Micaiah Garan. Lewis and Clark is coached by first-year head coach Fraser Morrison. He's assisted by Jim Tersey, Bill Irwin, Rebecca McCullough, and Daniel Gradison. The officials for today's match: Eric Romero, Andre Salcedo Miranda, and Mohamed Zaida. Those were the starting lineups for today's matchup between the Blues and the Pioneers. Lewis and Clark traditionally has struggled against the two WIT schools. They don't play them nearly as much, and to be fair, the teams out of the state of Washington have had the better end of things in Northwest Conference play the past couple of years. In 4 meetings thus far, the team from Walla Walla has held the edge, winning all 4 matchups, 7-0 in the first meeting back in 2023 up in Washington, 4-1 in Portland in the return matchup last year, 3-1 in Walla Walla, 6-1 in Portland. So Lewis and Clark is yet to get a close result against this Blues team. A big part is that Jose Cedeno has done a really good job with this Whitman team, but Lewis and Clark has played a lot of close games in their most recent contests, a 2-1 and 1-0 loss last weekend, even against Puget Sound and Pacific Lutheran. That game against Pacific Lutheran, the defending conference champs, 2 Sundays ago on the 21st of September. Lewis and Clark held the Lute scoreless for over 60 minutes before eventually falling 3-0. Will be interesting today. Lewis and Clark without Sam London. I mentioned He's not only one of their starters, he was one of their best playmakers, but they do get Sam Gunderson back, who missed the last game due to a pair of yellow cards in the loss to George Fox. They also will get Caden Nakamura, who missed the first month of the season, returned against George Fox last Saturday, picked up 2 yellows, and was suspended for last Sunday. So a little bit of depth despite losing one of their better players for today's contest, as London was dressed in street clothes ahead of today's game. London scored one of the team's 3 goals this year. As Whitman is huddled up, they will be going from right to left. Lewis and Clark from left to right in their home white uniforms with orange numbers and black trim. Whitman looks like they're going with the light blue front of the jerseys with a navy blue on the back and navy blue shorts with the white stripes on the sides and the white numbers, as both Whitman teams like to use the multicolored front of the jerseys, which can be a little bit harder to read, but it looks like these Whitman jerseys should be legible under the lights here at Griswold Stadium. A rare Friday night doubleheader, as Lewis and Clark is hosting not only 4 soccer games and 2 volleyball matches this weekend, but they also will host Lewis and Clark football team tomorrow at 1 p.m. against University of Puget Sound, which is why this soccer doubleheader moved from Saturday to Friday, as Emmett Olson is there to clear away the opening kickoff. Whitman, like a lot of teams these days, electing to just flip it forward as we are underway here from Griswold. Ball flipped deep, looking for Kevin Serrano. Serrano, a local product. Actually got a chance to broadcast one of his games in high school. He attended LaSalle Catholic College Prep, one of the better high schools for soccer in the city of Portland. And Portland is a soccer town, just like Seattle. Controlled below us by Alexander Perez Hernandez, the junior out of Salem, the capital of Oregon. Quite a few local players on this Whitman roster, along with a couple of players from a bit further away, including Takahiro Akita, comes to the Blues all the way from Japan. Whitman is one of the best academic schools in the conference and really the West Coast in general. So they're able to draw internationally. Their men's basketball team always has quite a few players from overseas. This past year, I believe they had a player from Turkey and from Ghana. And that's kind of been the norm ever since, well, at least for me, since I've come over to Lewis and Clark. This is my 4th year in athletic communications, and Whitman seems to be a school that is able to bring international talent more easily than the rest of the Northwest Conference, as there's a heavy tackle. Fukuoka and Perez Hernandez go into each other, and if that tackle had been lower, and when I say lower, I mean more studs to studs than knee to knee, that could have resulted in a card, if not more so. Dangerous tackle, but nothing doing. Fukuoka brings it down, looking for the right-footed cross. It's toe poked away, gets as far as Weinstein, trying to keep it alive. Double team, now looking to potentially earn a corner kick. Weinstein still battling. Gets a good tug of a Whitman player's jersey, no call. Left off for Gunderson, and he nearly hits a field goal there. Pushed it a little bit wide. That was clearly miss-hit. Put it a little bit wide. A rare Trevor Koo appearance today for Lewis and Clark men's soccer. He's trying the odd double of being a 2-sport athlete in the same season, a member of the football and men's soccer team. But because Koo this year is the starting place kicker, he's taking field goals and PATs, it's meant that he's prioritized football a little bit more than men's soccer in terms of the games to this point, as he's played in all 3 football games and will likely play tomorrow. But since both teams are in town, Koo will play, hopefully, will be available for all 3 of his team's games, as it looks like we might have a flat ball. That's what the indication is coming from our referee and from one of the Whitman assisted. So even though those balls are supposed to be checked before the game, we're going to take that ball out and hopefully get it pumped up a little bit more, as Lewis and Clark player is bringing a a pump over. It looks like Alex Woods is going to check the PSI on that one, as it's into the 18-yard box, but Weinstein able to knock it away, and eventually will go out for a Whitman throw. You don't see that often. I'm going to say at least with 100% confidence that there was no intent there. I'm not going to say that Tom Brady and Deflategate was real, although as a New England Patriots hater, I believe it more than most. But that is not the case here, as it will go out for a goal kick. Almost 5 minutes in, neither team has attempted a shot to this point. Big thing for Lewis and Clark in a game like this against one of the better teams in the conference, as Weinstein draws the foul. Lucas McAllister, the leading scorer for Whitman, couldn't believe it, but there was definitely a bit of contact there. And interesting to see with all of these refs kind of where they draw the line early, as Eric Romero, our head ref, blowing the whistle there. We have seen some referees that have let a little bit more go early, and it's led to maybe some of the physicality escalating to the point that you do see quite a few yellow cards and maybe even some plays that could result in injuries. See a referee maybe blow the whistle a little bit more early. You might kind of nip that in the bud, as here's a chance for Whitman, the through ball, and Garan reads it nicely. Comes off his line and is able to get there first. Micaiah set the program record last year for saves in a season and goals against average, and his numbers are even better this year, as we've got either a foul or a handball, and I believe it was a handball there against Raph Ladd. So we will see a free kick for Kevin Serrano, who in high school was, from what I remember, the third best player on his team. And the scary part is that's how good his high school team was, because you look at Serrano's numbers, and you could argue that he's the third best attacker on Whitman this season. Serrano will float that one towards the back post, and Garan comes off his line. Micaiah plays way bigger than he's listed. He's listed at 5'10", and there are some attackers in this conference, 6'3", 6'4", but Garan is fearless, coming off his line to challenge for some of those crosses, whether it be off corners or a free kick. Here's Weinstein badgering the Whitman defender, and Clum Stockton able to hold him off. Clum Stockton, not an international, but don't see a lot of players out of Louisiana in the Northwest Conference. That's a long trip. Lewis and Clark does have a football player, Cam Reed, backup goalie, who also is originally out of New Orleans, but by way of a high school here in the city of Portland. Schwartz brought it down, close to a handball. Referee says play on. Here's Raph Ladd, and that's the second foul by McAllister. Neither have been dirty, but you do begin to kind of rack them up, and we'll see if McAllister can maybe slow down his pace of fouls. It's rare to see an accumulation yellow card here in collegiate soccer, but not completely unheard of, as Talon Haywood will take this free kick for Lewis and Clark. It'd be impressive if he could get this all the way to the top of the 18-yard box, but he's certainly feigning as if he will, and he is going to boot it towards goal. Schwartz tries to get there, but instead it's easily collected by Izenzi, the junior goalie out of Issaquah, Washington. Talked a little bit about Garan and his league-leading 45 saves. Izenzi, 27 saves, 4 goals against in 8 starts now. Rather, 7 starts, 8 appearances. 564 minutes, has allowed 4 goals for a 0.64 goals against average and 871 save percentage. Whitman already with a win over their Washington rivals, Whitworth, in which McAllister did all the damage early, 3 goals in the opening 10 minutes. They're a team that's challenged for that top 4 in the conference, but it's been a while since they've won a conference title, as that ball will slip all the way to the opposite side of the 18 on the cross, and Gunderson will clear it out. Thus far in conference, a pair of 2-0 wins over Pacific and Willamette at home to open conference play. Traveled to Whitworth and won 3-1, and then added a 1-0 victory over Linfield last Saturday in their lone weekend game. So they've been off since last Sunday. Not that an extra day of rest really makes a big difference when you haven't played since last weekend here in the Northwest Conference, where teams are used to playing back-to-back days. Now, tomorrow's day off could certainly help both of these teams on Sunday, when Lewis and Clark will host Whitworth at 2:45 and Whitman will travel to George Fox at 2:45. The big weekend for Whitman will be next weekend when they close out the first half of conference play, when they host Pacific Lutheran, the defending conference champs, and then the University of Puget Sound. Those games on October 11th and 12th. Here's a chance at the top of the box. They'll slide it all the way out wide for Hikita. Japanese product has his pass knocked away, but only as far as Keegan Chapko. One of, I think it's 2 first years in the lineup for Whitman. It's a small roster for the Blues, but Cedeno clearly trusts in his group, and there are benefits to having a smaller roster. It's easier to keep players happy with their playing time. Everybody kind of focused on the same thing. Clum Stockton trying to throw ball to the back post, and again, Garan off his line to break up the pass for McAllister. It was a good-looking pass, not quite enough pace behind it, and Garan was able to read it, but nice idea there from Clum Stockton. Garan will boot it across midfield, but immediately back to the Blues. Thus far, Whitman has controlled most of the ball, and they've created a couple half chances, but they haven't been able to put anything towards goal to this point, as it's off of Alstad and out for a throw. Tough part about a game like this, when you're defending so much for Lewis and Clark, is you'd really like to have a guy like London who can kind of be good at hold-up play and push the ball forward a bit. So it just makes it a little bit harder and a little bit more important when Lewis and Clark does get the ball, that they can kind of maintain it rather than immediately giving it back to the Blues. Haywood on his horse, and he'll eschew that ball out for a throw as he was in a foot race with Miranda Ortiz. Nearly 11 minutes gone by in this first half. Whitman 0, Lewis and Clark 0. As the throw goes into the box, looking for the chest of McAllister. Alstad whiffs on the clearance. McAllister back on the ball, but with his back to goal. Pushes it out for Spencer Lovell. On the turf for Hikita. Hikita somehow keeps that one in. Haywood unable to get the clearance. Right-footed shot is blocked. Ball still loose. And Lewis and Clark gets away from some danger as Miranda Ortiz had his shot blocked, number 22. And eventually it's out for a Lewis and Clark throw. That ball was in a dangerous spot, but a big shot block, and Dylan Weinstein is putting his hands up. Hey, let's slow it down. Let's take advantage of this possession. Had a chance to talk to Dylan after Sunday's game as he was leaving the complex, and he's got a harder role on a team that is getting older, but they're still pretty young, and Lewis and Clark took a lot of yellow cards last week. They play a physical game. They're a spirited group with a lot more skill than they had maybe in year one, but trying to keep everybody level-headed and focused on that same goal can be difficult at times. He probably talks to the referee more than most captains in the Northwest Conference, but always seems to keep a pretty level head as Walson is on top of the ball. Shear's another captain on this team, but he typically lets Weinstein do a little bit more of the talking. As Walson able to win the throw-in along the far side, although Pablo Gonzalez Jr. is asking where was the foul. Ball loose, and Painter nearly won it back. This is McAllister picking his head up, looking for options, plays it down the sideline, and eventually out off of the right back, and it'll stay with Lewis and Clark. Taking a look at the stats, both teams are credited with one shot, no shots on target to this point. Gunderson mishit his look. That went skying into the air. Sam, a really good defender who's capable of getting forward, but doesn't typically get a lot of shots to the back post. This one goes off the knee of Serrano, and Garan able to make the save. I don't think that was an intended shot, but Serrano's knee deflection would have been on target. In fact, it might have gone in, if not for Garan getting a paw on it. That was such a good cross. The only problem is there were 2 Blues in the vicinity. Sometimes it's easier when there's only one player because you don't have to worry about running into the other. And Lewis and Clark gets away with it. But clearly Whitman feels like they can play those balls up over the back 4 of Lewis and Clark. And that's going to put pressure on this back 4. And it's a young one. The outside backs are both sophomores. Haywood, a sophomore center back. Olsen, the veteran of the group, a junior. And when you've got the opposite team trying to play a lot of balls over the top, it's all about communication. Keeping that same line so that you can potentially draw the offsides and making sure that no one is coming in behind the defender that they don't see. Also is really reliant on Garan being a good communicator in net. Lewis and Clark content to hold Whitman in their own half right now. And here's the ball over the top. It's McAllister running onto it, plays it off the back of Olsen, and then Alstad steps forward. That ball ricochets off a Whitman player, and Garan will collect. Almost 15 minutes gone by, and Lewis and Clark in a decent spot. 0-0. Defense is holding strong. The problem is now can they get a little bit of offense going? That's a dangerous back pass from Weinstein, and Olsen forced to push it forward. Winning the ball in the center of the pitch was Spencer Lovell, who's still down. Referee checks on him, and we will get his clock stoppage. As Lovell, who went up for a jump ball with Schwartz, landed awkwardly, and we'll see if he's okay or if we need to see a sub for the Blues. He's going to try to fight through it. It looks like maybe an ankle injury. Should be a drop ball here in the midfield. We'll see if they're going to drop it between 2 players or if they're going to ask one of the teams to just give the ball back to the other. We're back to live action. They just give the Blues the ball back, and we are back to live action just over 15 minutes in. Whitman, the top team through the first 2 weeks of conference play. Lewis and Clark sits all by themselves at the bottom after Linfield picked up a midweek tie against Willamette, as this is a long run on the outside, and able to get there was the player Chapko, but his cross gets knocked right back towards the sideline. Linfield had been completely winless on the season. They had lost each of their first 8 before picking up a 1-1 tie at home. So now Lewis and Clark and Linfield both have 1 tie in the season. The problem is Lewis and Clark's tie came in non-conference play against Northwest Washington. Still looking for that first conference point. Willamette is an odd case. They won the conference title, I think it was in 2022. But it was 2022 because the Pioneers tied them, or scored twice against them in 2023, which was a big accomplishment. First time the program had scored multiple goals in a game. They've only matched that once. That came in their 2-2 tie against Northwest Washington earlier this year. But Willamette's having an odd season. They are 1-5-5 on the year. 5 ties, 5 losses, 1 win. And they picked up their league-leading 5th tie, 4 of which have come in conference where they sit 1, 2, and 4. So the Bearcats having a frustrating season where they're able to get ties, but not able to pick up all the points in some of those close contests. This is Alfstad trying to play it ahead for Fukuoka. And those two typically play as outside backs, but today with London unavailable, it looks like Fukuoka is playing a winger position, and it's pushed out of bounds by Whitman. Looks like Owen Carroll is warming up on the far side for Lewis and Clark. Could be Carroll, could be Nakamura. I'm not quite sure. With the lights on here at Griswold, it's a little bit harder to pick out players' facial features when they're on the far side of the field. Lewis and Clark, though, readying their first sub of the game. Saw very few subs in the women's game with the day off tomorrow. That could be a reason, but men's team with no London maybe will use more subs, trying to keep fresh legs in the midfield. I think this is going to be Nakamura, who had to sit out the last game with a red card suspension, but should be fresh after playing just 26 minutes thus far. As Alfstad's cross into the box is collected by Izenzi. First time I think he's had to handle the ball. And now Lewis and Clark is going to send 7 more players to warm up. Ball comes all the way back as Whitman controls it here. Lewis and Clark's gotten a little bit better as this game has gone along. It will be Nakamura coming on for the second time this year. Caden had a rough preseason. He's a Hawaii native who actually suffered a surfing accident a week before preseason was supposed to start. He missed the team's trip to Iceland, which if you haven't seen it on lcpioneers.com, as Ladd gets tied up with a Whitman defender, and he's going to be called for the foul. He can't believe it. The Whitman defender can't believe there was more there. So that was Perez Hernandez who got tangled up with Ladd. But Nakamura suffered a surfing accident that cost him to miss the team's preseason, including a trip to Iceland, a place that he says he's always wanted to go. And then he wasn't cleared until 3 weeks into the season. Fortunately, he's okay. Sounded like a pretty gnarly surfing accident. But first time I got to see him, I asked him, when's the next time you're going surfing? He said, as soon as I can get home. And that kind of is pretty indicative of, I would say, any extreme sport. I would say surfing, but it's probably the same thing for a skier, a snowboarder, maybe even someone who's interested in one of the X Games sports. It's a way of life. As the long ball comes from Perez Hernandez looking for Serrano, Olsen is there. Nakamura plays a little bit like that on the field. A little bit of a whirling dervish. Now, that didn't benefit him on Saturday against George Fox, picking up 2 yellows in the second half in a matter of a minute. But he does bring some good energy, some good skill on the ball, and they'll hope to see that here in his second appearance of the year. He had a good freshman season for Lewis and Clark. The ball is dribbled out of pressure, but Alfstad reads it nicely. Seems like Whitman does not have as much control of the ball as they did in the first 10 minutes when it felt like it was all Blues going forward. This is McAllister, a player Lewis and Clark really has to be careful with. It's pushed all the way to the far side for Valencia. Valencia able to get around Walson, plays it on the turf, looking to find Miranda Ortiz, and Haywood is there. Haywood, though, dispossessed from behind by Miranda Ortiz. On the turf looking for McAllister, and Alfstad will push it out. Ladd battling. Schwartz comes over as well, and pushing them both off the ball is Clum Stockton. And now Ladd gets knocked down, but first they'll call a handball on Clum Stockton. Free kick as Nakamura continues to wait. We're nearing the midway point of this second half. Haywood will take the free kick. He's already had one free kick from a couple further yards backwards, and he sent it into the box, just too close to Izenzi. We'll see what he elects to do here. He's got Alfstad to his right, and that's where he'll go, all alone. Serrano quickly heads towards the Pioneers' right back. Fukuoka in behind the defense, keeps it in. Player on his back for Alfstad. Looking to go for Fukuoka, trying to get the right-footed cross, and it's knocked away and out for a corner kick. Lewis and Clark will make the sub. Lewis and Clark substitution, number 8, Caden Nakamura for number 27, Ren Fukuoka. So Lewis and Clark's first corner kick. Gunderson is over there, as is Alfstad. Brief conversation. It looks like it will be Gunderson, the right-footed outswinger. Sam towards the back post, just over the head of Schwartz. Was knocked down there by Ladd, and trying to get it out is McAllister. Olsen steps forward, able to keep it alive. Ladd wants the right-footed shot, and he fires it high. Decent look off the Pioneers' first corner of the game. They don't get all that many corners per contest. And that ball was put in a good spot. Ladd is another one of those high-energy, high-motor players. It's one of the team's first years who's seen a lot of time this year. First year out of Ladera Ranch, California. And this has been a good first recruiting class for Fraser Morrison, the fourth-year coach and first-year head coach of the Pioneers, who was the lead assistant under Jim Tersey, who spent the first 3 years of this program being back at the varsity level, starting in 2022 as the head coach. This year has taken over the title of head women's soccer coach and director of soccer, as McAllister can run with speed, has options to his left and right. What a slide tackle from Emmett Olsen. Absolutely clean according to the referee, and a lot of Lewis and Clark fans below us very excited by that play from Olsen, who's typically more of a stay-at-home defender who just does everything cleanly. That was a big-time highlight reel play, and there's a lot of prospective student-athletes from the men's soccer program, also the women's soccer team, a couple other teams below us who are making some noise along with their respective current teams. This is a big PSA weekend here at Lewis and Clark. Members of the prospective student-athletes for the swimming team, the softball team, the men's and women's soccer teams, the women's basketball team, and I believe the tennis team, just to name a few. Couldn't ask for much better weather. It's still very nice out in between the two contests. I think probably get into the mid to low 60s, but no rain in the forecast. Here's a chance for the overlapping run. Ball played on the turf for McAllister, who lost his footing and sends it wide. They say he lost his footing before there was any contact from Nakamura. Ladd looking for options, over for Olsen, and now Gunderson in right back. Being pressured on the ball and able to flip it out to the head of Weinstein. Ball is loose. Serrano's got a very good left foot, and he'll try to take the shot, and Weinstein steps in front. I've seen that a couple times from Lewis and Clark, where they're just getting in front of potential shots for the Blues. This is Painter with a little bit of space. Brandon, the Alaska native, back for Gunderson, and on the turf for Nakamura. Better from Lewis and Clark. Playing it on the turf, looking to build possession. This is Nakamura trying to find Schwartz, just a bit too far out ahead of him. And it's controlled by the Blues with 19 to go in the first half. This is a good measuring stick for Lewis and Clark. Weekend ago, they lost a pair of one-goal games against teams towards the bottom of the conference. Now they played the team currently first in the Northwest Conference. Can they play another competitive game? Yes. Lewis and Clark's team, their fans, this program wants ties. They want wins. They want results in conference. And that's a great goal. But if you're not getting those wins, are you able to show progress? And I think last weekend the team took a step forward. This is Alfstad. For Ladd, gets caught up. They say no foul. Ladd nearly trips up a player and does get called for the foul. So Ladd on McAllister. And the referee says, let's bring the ball back, please, as Whitman has a substitute. This could be Riki Kobayashi. It will be Kobayashi checking in shortly. This is one of 3 games going on tonight in Lewis and Clark College Athletics. The 2 women's soccer teams for these programs tied 1-1. Lewis and Clark volleyball will take on Whitman tomorrow night at 6. But tonight, the Pioneers take on the top team in the Northwest Conference. It is Whitworth. They currently trail it 2-0. So we've got a Whitman substitution. Checking into the game for Whitman, number 8, Riki Kobayashi, for number 21, Keegan Chapko. Kobayashi is a junior out of Linwood, Washington, attended Mount Lake Terrace High School. Ball brought down by Serrano. Hakita nearly nutmegged a Lewis and Clark player, and it comes all the way back for Lovell. Lovell was the player who took that hard landing but stayed in the game. Now this is Serrano, 1v1 with Haywood. Serrano looking for the back heel flick, and it comes all the way across, and they're going to say it went over the goal line first, so we'll get a goal kick. Shots are 2-2 at this point. No shots on target for either side. And honestly, outside of the possession, this game looks really even. Now, I'd say Whitman has been the better team as Garand nearly has his goal kick stolen away. McAllister looking for a shot, and another Pioneers block shot. That was either Olsen or Painter who got a foot on it. Both players had their legs stretched out. Whitman certainly has had more possession. Certainly more possession in the attacking third, but Lewis and Clark has held up thus far, and they're getting better as this game goes along. Schwartz out wide, looking for Ladd, kind of floated on him, and it's picked away by the Blues. Hikita gets tripped up. They say no call. It must have been the turf monster. And it's Nakamura on the far side as Lewis and Clark has a couple subs who haven't quite been sent to the scorer's table, but look like they're getting close, including Alex Woods, as Painter overhits the pass to the far side, and we will see a Whitman throw. 30 minutes gone by in the first half, still 0-0, and 2 more players will begin to warm for the Pioneers. I say the Pioneers because Lewis and Clark's fall teams will continue to play under the nickname they've played under for well over 50 years. Now, Lewis and Clark has announced its new nickname. If you haven't seen that, that came out this morning. All of the Lewis and Clark teams, beginning with the winter season, and from 2026 on, will play under the new nickname of River Otters. We've got a video for you at halftime. But for now, over the next 4 to 6 weeks, as Ladd brings that down, Ladd crosses it to the back post just out of the reach of Schwartz. And Schwartz able to keep it in along the far sideline. Schwartz the top of the box. Painter was trying to get there. Hikita got there first, and it's headed down by Nakamura. Lewis and Clark men's soccer looking to have a strong finish to their time under the Pioneers. And then turn a new leaf in the fall as Weinstein's shot gets knocked down. Left-footed strike is in! Dylan Weinstein, an unassisted goal, his third of the year, and just like that, it's 1-0 Pioneers. Lewis and Clark, for the second consecutive game today, their first shot on target of the game goes in. Misha Vanek in the women's game, Dylan Weinstein in the men's. We actually have a change on that sub. It was 26 for 24 on the substitution as Whitman makes a late change. Spencer Lovell comes off, and Pablo Gonzalez Jr. stays on. Now, there is a lot of time left in this game, but Lewis and Clark holds the lead. Pretty confident, without having a chance to look at it, that this is the first time the Pioneers have led Whitman in 5 all-time meetings. And Weinstein has now scored in back-to-back games his 3 goals this year, one shy of the program record for a single season. Nadav Dukovsky scored 4 goals in 2023. Haywood steps in front of that pass, and Weinstein will bring it down. Dillon is certainly one of the most talented players on this Pioneers roster. This is Painter, gets around one, has the run of Walson, but coming back to read it nicely and break that up was the substitute Kobayashi. So I thought that Lewis and Clark would be happy with the way this first half has gone. Well, they're really happy with the way this first half has gone now as they score on what was just their 4th shot of the game. They're actually out shooting the Blues 4-3. And what a strike that was. The right-footed shot, his dominant foot, gets blocked back, and Dillon just absolutely rifled a left-footed shot into the top netting. I don't even think Izenzi thought it was going to be on target. He did not seem to react well to it. And with that, the Pioneers have a lead. Their first lead in conference play this year. This is just their second conference goal in 5 contests. They tied the game last week on a Weinstein goal in the second half against Pacific in an eventual 2-1 loss. Both of their losses last weekend came on goals in the final 90 seconds of the contest. Ladd is pushed down and draws the foul. A little bit of a frustration foul there by Hikita. And Lewis and Clark probably has a bigger home field advantage today than they normally would, with all of the teams out supporting them on a Friday night, with the prospective student athletes out supporting them. And they've put on a good showing to this point. Still 11:25 to go in the first half. So Whitman will send 2 more subs to the table waiting to check on. Sure, Jose Cedeno is going to have some words for his team at halftime. They haven't played poorly by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm sure their focus going into this one was to be the team that got that first goal. Lewis and Clark has had some games where they've given up 1 or 2 goals in the first 10 minutes and put themselves out of the game before it really started. Also had some slow starts to the second half, which could be something to watch coming out of the break. For Whitman, they've got 2 subs ready to go. It's Elliott Klum-Stockton, sophomore out of Louisiana, who appears to be the younger brother of Jude. And Fernando Lopez Vega, Lewis and Clark able to break up that long ball pass. Walson took a little bit of a push in the back and able to win the throw. .22 to go in the first half. Lewis and Clark a 1-0 lead. Goal in the 32nd minute, unassisted from Dylan Weinstein, his 3rd goal of the season. Lewis and Clark has scored 4 goals this year, and the only other goal scorer on the team is unavailable for tonight's game with an injury. We talked about Weinstein needing to be the player to watch. That was before we knew that London was going to be out. Even more important, and he steps up with a big individual effort. Working with it here is Kobayashi. Leaves it off in the middle of the pitch for Klum-Stockton. That's the elder Klum-Stockton, Jude, with his younger brother waiting to check on. This is Klum-Stockton here. Pushes it out wide for Asher Leventhal, the substitute. For Akita, trying to find Leventhal. Ladd takes a tumble. The referee says play on, nothing there. Akita tries to force a pass. Painter steps in front. Weinstein's pass, not quite enough on it to get it back for Painter. Left-footed shot, and Klum-Stockton has it go off Weinstein. Lewis and Clark will retain possession on the throw, so those 2 Whitman subs continue to wait. How many shots have Lewis and Clark stepped in front of to this point? It has been an impressive effort from the Pioneers defense. Is it sustainable over 90 minutes? I don't know, but it's been sustainable over the first 30 plus. And this has been a really good team effort. I know that after Saturday's game, there were a lot of people who were frustrated in that team circle because they came so close, giving up a penalty in the 89th minute. I can imagine it was even worse on Sunday, doing it back-to-back games, giving up the game-winning goal in the 90th minute. But this team does not look like a team that is disheartened by last week's results. They have come out with energy, And playing without one of their better players, they've played really well as a team and really well defensively to this point. 8:20 to go as the pass trying to slide it through. Seeing Whitman do that a lot. And it's collected by Walson. Olsen, who's had a great first half in the middle of the defense for Lewis and Clark. And Weinstein elects to just ping it forward where Izenzi will pick it up. 8 minutes left. Still 53 in the contest as Clem Stockton nearly saw Weinstein win that ball away in the air. Nakamura floating it backside for Walson. Tries to bring it down. Did it catch a hand? The referee finally says it did. I think it did as well. The referee took a while there. And we will just get the handball just at the edge of the box. That's a tough play from Walson on a ball that's floating. The defender's right there. As now Lewis and Clark will send 2 players of their own to substitute in. So we'll see 4 changes. Looks like it'll be Woods and Delaget for Lewis and Clark. As Nakamura guilty of a foul on Clem Stockton. 7-11. Those Whitman subs have been waiting for 4 or 5 minutes now at this point. It's the tough part about collegiate substitutions. You got to wait for your team's throw-in or a goal kick, and we haven't seen many throw-ins over the last 4 or 5 minutes, and they've all gone to Lewis and Clark. Serrano purposely lets that ball play through, tries to chip it through for McAllister. Olsen taken down, and the referee correctly calls it. McAllister's frustrated, but there was a clear tug of the jersey as Olsen went down. And granted, we have the advantage of being up above the play, kind of that bird's eye view, but you could see it from here that Olsen, as he was going down, clearly had his jersey pulled. And the referee's going to call that, let's not even say 9 times out of 10, 95 times out of 100, when they see that clear jersey pull on the defender. It might not be a ton of jersey, it might not be a ton of physicality, but almost always that's going to go against the attacking player. Ball played on the turf here for Whitman, who they haven't really been sped up, but probably a little frustration as we will have that substitution for you now. Checking into the game for Whitman, number 11, Elliot Clem Stockton, and number 9, Fernando Lopez Vega. For Lewis and Clark, number 9, Alex Woods, and number 20, Elliot Delaget. For Lewis and Clark, it will be Ben Schwartz and Ashir Walson taking a seat with 5:30 to go in half number 1. For Whitman, it'll be Hikita and Kevin Serrano taking a seat late in the half. So both teams making some attacking changes. This will be out for a throw. And important right now if you're Lewis and Clark men's soccer to keep this lead going into the break. We know that Whitman can score goals. We know they can score them in flurries. Lucas McAllister scored a hat trick in less than 10 minutes against their rivals at Whitworth last week in the midweek. But right now, if you're Lewis and Clark, you've played extremely well for 40-plus minutes. It would be huge to go into the break with the 1-0 lead. So play smart, avoid fouls in your own half, and continue to attack. They've looked much more dangerous as this game has gone along. And they will do better defensively in this contest if they can actually force Whitman to leave some players back defensively and to fear some of these attacks. As here's a spinning turnaround play at the top of the 18. Ball left off for McAllister, looking to get the shot off, picks his head up, and his pass is pinged off of Nakamura. That was some really fancy footwork there from William Miranda Ortiz, the first jet of Las Vegas, Nevada, who has kind of moved more centrally. Haven't called his name a ton, but he was able to keep control, and now it's won by the Blues, looking for the cutter at the top of the box, and the shot goes right to Garan. It was Ricky Kobayashi, the Washington native, who got to the end of that ball. It was a great pass to the top of the box, but Kobayashi just put it eye level for Garan, who easily able to make the save. Woods settles it there for Weinstein, and the through ball aiming for Delaget. Just had a bit too much behind it. 3:35 to go in the first half. Blues looking for options as they have it in the back four. Lewis and Clark doing a good job of man marking some of these runs coming across. As Valencia and Perez Hernandez kind of just playing it back and forth. Almost like you were having a catch in baseball in the backyard. Alstad's pass, kind of in between two players. McAllister, a great turn. Two Pios knock each other down. That's Haywood and Weinstein. Great chance here for the Blues as they've got Miranda Ortiz. Weinstein slow to get up, just back to his feet. Haywood somehow able to get back into the play quickly. And Lewis and Clark able to withstand that little mental mistake as two Pioneers went into each other. Haywood probably not recognizing he was jumping into his own teammate there. This is, again, Miranda Ortiz, who's got some great footwork. McAllister looking for the cross, and that one will go out off of Olsen and out for a corner kick. 2:12 to go in the half, and McAllister wants to send this ball in quickly. Whitman corner to be taken by number 10, Lucas McAllister. You can sense the Blues are hoping to find an equalizer before half. McAllister gets set to send the right-footed outswinger. Sends a low bouncing ball that Weinstein gets to first. Weinstein will clear it out, looking for Woods, and it will result in a Whitman throw. 1:40 to play in the half. Brought in for the Elder Clum Stockton, that's Jude. To the feet of Riki Kobayashi. McAllister and Clum Stockton once again. Plays it on the turf for the defender Perez Hernandez. The center back stayed forward after that corner. With 1:15 to go in the half. Left-footed cross brought down. Whitman player shot gets all the way through. And it looks like it's going to go out for a throw. I think this will stay with Lewis and Clark, and it will. 1 minute to go in the first half. It'll be Alstad to take the throw. Lewis and Clark would love for this clock to tick a little bit faster. There's still 45 minutes left. But I think with the way Lewis and Clark has played in this first half, they're really just trying to get to the break, use this positive momentum, and then talk about some of the things they need to shore up if they're going to pull off what would be an upset. As Garan loses it and just able to jump on top of the ball with Fernando Lopez Vega right there. That would have been catastrophic as there was no one behind Garan. 20 seconds now, and Makaya is going to take as long as he can to boot this one deep. 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At the end of the first half, Lewis and Clark 1, Whitman 0. Well, that was a first here at Griswold Stadium, a ruckus soccer crowd counting down the final 10 seconds. I don't know if I can remember one of those, but this feels like the biggest and loudest crowd of the season, and they've had a fun doubleheader. The women's team, a 1-1 tie. The men's team leads it at halftime. We will take a commercial break. We'll play you that video where you can see just how the River Otters won the race to be the new Lewis and Clark mascot. And then we'll have some halftime stats, a look around the rest of Lewis and Clark athletics, and a look around the rest of the conference, as it's a 1-0 lead for Lewis and Clark on Dylan Weinstein's third goal of the season.
great race. River Otter, how do you feel?
Well, I gotta say, this was far from automatic. This took a lot of work to get done, and I thought I was dead until we got to that otter station, and that was a real lift for us, but we're real excited. I have a lot of people to thank for all the support in this journey.
River Otter, thank you so much. And to the whole Lewis and Clark community, we couldn't be more thankful for your process. We are thrilled to have our new mascot and cannot wait to celebrate with you all. Excellent. Yep, you're moving around and come on back. Yep, keep a dynamic camera. Oh my God! So awesome. This is brilliant. Yes. Run it back. Run it back. Yes. Okay, can we do the same thing, but this time? Cut. Come on back.
Today's broadcast on PIO Stream is brought to you by the Lewis and Clark Alumni Marketplace. Go to lcpioneers.com/marketplace and search for products and services offered by Lewis and Clark alumni, including Portland Pet Food Company. Katie McCarran started Portland Pet Food Company when her 14-year-old poodle Rosie lost her appetite and her health started to decline. When there wasn't food with ingredients that Katie could trust and that Rosie would eat, Portland Pet Food Company was born. A family and women-owned business, Portland Pet Food Company manufactures human-grade cat meals, dog meals, and dog treats with ingredients grown and sourced in the U.S. at portlandpetfoodcompany.com. Its mission is to provide pets with the same quality of food that their humans eat, with each product containing 11 ingredients or fewer and is free from any additives. Get yours at portlandpetfoodcompany.com. Today's broadcast on PIO Stream is brought to you by the Lewis and Clark Alumni Marketplace. Go to lcpioneers.com/marketplace and search for products and services offered by Lewis and Clark alumni, including Pacific Pines Golf and Social Club, the premier private indoor golf experience, offering 24/7 access to state-of-the-art simulators for golf enthusiasts of all levels at pacificpinesgolf.com. Whether you're looking to sharpen your game, compete in leagues, or just enjoy a round with friends, Pacific Pines Golf and Social Club provides a realistic, high-tech golf environment and a welcoming social setting just 20 minutes from Lewis and Clark College. With exclusive membership access, unlimited bookings, and a vibrant golf community, Pacific Pines Golf and Social Club brings the best of the course indoors, rain or shine. Learn more and book a demo at pacificpinesgolf.com.
Welcome back for half number 2. My name is Seth Orensky, bringing you the action of this Northwest Conference doubleheader. Lewis and Clark men's soccer going from right to left in this second half, leading it 1-0 over the Blues. As this is Schwartz trying to deflect it towards Weinstein, and it comes all the way out. For Painter, looking for a shot is Ladd, and he doesn't get much behind it, kind of mishit that, and it's easily picked up by Whitman keeper Nicholas Izenzi. Mostly the same group. Lewis and Clark will go with the same back four from left to right. Gunderson, Olsen, Haywood, and Alfstad. In the midfield, Ladd, Painter, Nakamura, who's the one player who didn't start the first half, alongside Schwartz, Walson, and Weinstein. Fukuoka, the lone starter in half number 1, who's not out there to start half number 2 for Lewis and Clark. Taking a look at the halftime stats. I can find the right tab. Here we go. Shots, 5-5, although it was 5-4 at halftime. Whitman with the early look. Shots on target, 1 for either side. 2 corners for the Blues, 1 for Lewis and Clark. 5 fouls for either team. Micaiah Garan had the lone save as we've got a foul on Weinstein. And the free kick will be taken by Alfstad. 2 minutes gone by in the second half, as they're actually going to push this free kick forward. Alfstad will ping it towards the box. 2 Pioneers are there. Ball is loose. Walson's fighting for it. It's put in. It's Raph Ladd, the first goal of his collegiate career, and it is 2-0 Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark had scored multiple goals Lewis and Clark had scored multiple goals in the same game just once before this season in their first 3 years as a varsity program. They've now done it twice this season, both times at home against Northwest Washington in a game they led 1-0 and 2-1 and eventually tied. And here today against Whitman, their first ever multi-goal lead. The question now, can they hold on? 42 minutes and 40 seconds is when the goal was scored left in the contest. That is a lot of time against a Whitman team that can score goals in bunches. But certainly great to see. It was Izenzi who just dropped the long free kick from Alfstad. It bounced. It was Walson who had the initial shot, fell to Ladd, and he poked it home amongst a sea of players. There had to have been at least 2 or 3 Whitman players going for the ball alongside Ashir Walson still fighting for it. Played to the top of the box and trying to dribble his way through traffic is Miranda Ortiz. Miranda Ortiz's shot is knocked down by Gunderson. Out top for Elliot Klum-Stockton, and now to Jude. Lewis and Clark's fans below us chanting defense. Not something you typically see in soccer, more of a football, basketball. But nice to see the support for this program. On PSA weekend, we expect to see a lot of these same fans coming out for the football game tomorrow, the volleyball match. So there is a shot from distance from McAllister that goes into the back of a Pioneer. Lewis and Clark has stepped in front of so many blue shots today, and we still have 40-plus minutes. The long ball finds McAllister, and Garan immediately onto it. McAllister down and maybe in some pain, but Garan caught no piece of it. That was a great play by Lewis and Clark's junior keeper, who's the only goalie in program history who's earned a result, at least in a full start. He had a 0-0 shutout tie against George Fox as a first year. Lewis and Clark used both goalies, both backup keepers, Declan Cloutier and Kiahi Meredith, in their 2-2 tie with Northwest Washington. Ball played on the turf. Walson trying to get it back across for Schwartz. Lewis and Clark absorbed pressure for the first 15, maybe 20 minutes of this game. They started pushing a little bit forward. They started connecting passes and were able to find a goal in the first half as Weinstein had his first shot blocked and immediately rifled a left-footed shot that seemed to surprise Izenzi. Here in the second half, it took less than 3 minutes. First year, Raph Ladd, his first collegiate goal, as off the long ball, Izenzi couldn't collect. Walson got a shot off, and then Ladd found the rebound and put it in. Lewis and Clark has had a ton of block shots in this game, played well defensively against the only team in the Northwest Conference that's yet to suffer a loss here in 2025. Still a lot of time left, 39-19. And now to see how, if at all, Lewis and Clark will change their tactics here with a multiple goal lead. Hasn't happened yet in a countable contest, and we'll see a foul against Nakamura. Free kick from a dangerous spot. Looking at 40 yards out from straight away. Referee will count off the 10 yards, as behind the ball is the center back, Adrian Valencia. You'd expect he'd be passing here. Options to his left and right. He floats it towards the 6, headed up, and Garan will make the save just in front of the goal line. I believe that was number 9, and it was Fernando Lopez Vega, who rose way up to get a header on it. Just didn't have enough power as Garan was able to get back to his line and make the catch. Garan for Schwartz. Sliding effort, but it's picked away by Weinstein. Already with one goal in this one. Gets around the defender for the moment. Good slide tackle to win it off of him. Now Ladd is dispossessed, and Whitman will look to go the other way. Weinstein back up. And Whitman will retreat and play it back to their keeper. 37-52. Doesn't sound like that much time, but it could be a very long 37-52 for this men's soccer program, who completely sprinted to the corner flag on the opposite side of the field to celebrate that Raph Ladd goal. Only time that I can remember seeing that much energy from Lewis and Clark after a goal was when Nadav Dukovsky scored his second goal in less than 2 minutes against Willamette back in 2023 to tie the game at 2-2 late in the first half of an eventual 4-2 loss to the defending Northwest Conference champs. Just the third time in program history Lewis and Clark has scored multiple goals, and the first they've had a multi-goal lead. Their first goal of the contest gave them their first conference lead of the year in game number 5. This is a Pioneers team that defensively has gotten better and better. Haven't scored enough goals, but today they've got 2 in the opening 50 minutes. Good pressure from Painter and Weinstein, but Clum Stockton is there. Whitman is beginning to send more and more bodies forward. Almost looks as if they've pushed into a back 3 rather than a back 4, at least in possession. McAllister lets that one go through. They try to pass it right back to him, and Lewis and Clark has a player step in front. Looked like it was Painter. Pass to the backside, and the right-footed cross off of Gunderson and out for a corner kick. That was Pablo Gonzalez Jr. making the run. Corner kick upcoming. We've seen McAllister take some, but he's pointing that he's not going to take this one. And Whitman will leave it off. Whitman corner kick to be taken by number 8, Riki Kobayashi. So the junior out of Linwood, Washington, to take the right-footed outswinger with 36 minutes to go. Kobayashi, a line drive that nearly is headed in by a runner. I think that was the center back, Perez Hernandez, that made a dashing run towards the near post, but Garan got there first. It'll be Kobayashi once again. Wilson Clark has Gunderson defending the near post with Walson defending any crosses towards the top of the 6. Kobayashi sends a ball just above, bounces around, still loose. Olsen trying to clear it away. It's knocked away for the moment by Painter, and it'll come all the way out to Valencia. Whitman still has bodies forward. Ball pings off of Ladd, the second goal scorer, who scored his first collegiate goal. Just the third goal scorer this season for Lewis and Clark, in the first year to find the back of the net. Under 35 to play. Ball pushed back for Clum Stockton. And even further for Valencia. Whitman is not in any rush, and they don't need to be. 34 minutes. Lots and lots of time. But the question is, can they find spaces in this Pioneers defense? They've tried the through balls. They've tried the balls over the top. And to this point, Lewis and Clark's done a great job defending. Weinstein with 3 Blues around him, and he nutmegs one of them to get it out wide for Nakamura. Played it right through the legs there of Lopez Vega. Nakamura dispossessed by Clum Stockton, but he gets it right back. So a good defensive play from Gunderson, just out of the reach of Schwartz. Possession is going to be so important for Lewis and Clark. They cannot afford to just sit back for 30-plus minutes. They need to have some possession of their own. They need to take some forays into the attacking half. Yes, they don't have a game tomorrow. They can play for today, but it's a really dangerous game to play of just soaking up pressure. And I don't think that's what Fraser Morrison would want. Left-footed cross the back post, and an important intervention from Ladd, as sneaking in there was Gonzalez Jr. once again, and Garan able to collect. Felt like Lewis and Clark was certainly capable of a result last weekend. A 1-0 loss to George Fox on a penalty kick in the 89th. A 2-1 loss with a goal in the 90th minute for Pacific. Now the question is, can they defensively hold here? 2 goals, one in the first half from Weinstein, a second here in the second half from Raf Ladd, as Alex Woods will look to provide some fresh legs the next opportunity to sub. Woods, the sophomore forward from Montana. Another one of those high motor players Lewis and Clark has brought in who are also highly skilled. That one just gets away from Elliott Clum Stockton, who was looking upfield. Lewis and Clark substitution, number 9, Alex Woods for number 6, Ben Schwartz. So Lewis and Clark kill some clock here, get on some fresh legs in Woods, who only played, I think, the last 5 or 6 minutes of the first half. He's a player who didn't quite find his footing during the fall season last year, the actual season, as Nakamura is called for the foul on McAllister, but had a great spring season, and he's shown it during this fall. Has been a lot more comfortable, a player the Pioneers can depend on as that second center forward. So Olsen makes a nice intervention. Over for Gunderson. Ball pinging around, and it's eventually cleared away by Emmett. Out for Woods, who can't quite hold on. 31-18 left here in Portland as Lewis and Clark leads the top team statistically in the Northwest Conference. Top team in the table, 2-0. That one goes off of Whitman and out for a Lewis and Clark throw. It's certainly interesting to see how Eric Romero elects to referee these final 30 minutes. How tightly will he stop the clock? We've seen some referees this season that seem to stop the clock at every possible spot, whether it's warranted or not under the NCAA rulebook, and some referees who are a little bit more lenient. Certainly seems like Lewis and Clark is cognizant of the fact that they have a 2-goal lead and are taking a little bit more time when they have the opportunity. It's Alstad throwing it in, looking for Woods. Ping-pongs around and finds McAllister. Pushes it out wide, finds Gonzalez Jr., who cuts into the center of the field. Gonzalez Jr. looking out wide. And it's out. Lewis and Clark thought it went off last on Leventhal, but they say it stays with the Blues. Valencia knocked away by Haywood as that one caught him in the shoulder. Whitman looking for options. Another ball over the top. No one there this time making the run, and it's out for a goal kick. Under 30 to play. Lewis and Clark scored their second of the game in the 48th minute. So they've gone about 12 minutes with this 2-goal lead. I'd like to go the final 40-plus minutes with the 2-goal lead, but the big thing is you want to hold on to a 2-goal advantage for as long as possible. Heck, you'd like to get a third if you can. Controlled by the Blues, and here's a nice tackle from Ladd. Ladd starting because of the injury to Sam London and has played well. His goal was the second of the contest as he gets knocked over, and an easy call for Eric Romero as William Miranda Ortiz, the guilty party. A loud "Let's Go Pios" chant starts below us. Probably the biggest crowd for a men's soccer game since the first season for this program. It's floated forward just out of the reach of Walson, who's going to track down the loose ball. And we'll see if Lewis and Clark can keep some possession in the attacking third. Ladd tries to beat Izenzi, who was slightly off his line, but the keeper easily able to collect the line drive. And it looks like Jose Cedeno has a sub ready to go. Lewis and Clark has 5 or 6 players warming. Pablo Gonzalez Jr. leaves it off for Ellett Klum-Stockton, and Lewis and Clark wins it back. Walson tiptoeing along the sideline. Lost it back, but Gunderson there behind him to pick it up, and Olsen tries to clear it forward. Under 28 to play in regulation. I'd say the feeling is positive, but maybe a little bit tense for the Lewis and Clark faithful. Gotta love the 2-0 lead, but we've seen this team, especially here at home, lose some games late that have just been crushing. Now they play as the leader. This is literally something the program has never had in a regular season contest, a multi-goal lead. Sometimes that can be hard to play with. In hockey, they say a 2-0 lead is the hardest thing to play with. In soccer, I think you'd say a 1-0 lead. As Ladd gets through a defender. Ladd with 3 defenders backtracking, trying to get in front of him. Ladd at the edge of the 18, falls down, doesn't ask for a foul. He recognized that it was won cleanly, but that's what you need from Lewis and Clark. You cannot just be content to sit backwards, and Ladd able to take advantage of a miscue at midfield and push that ball forward, and Lewis and Clark has now probably possessed the ball for, let's say, 30-plus seconds. That's 30 seconds that Whitman can't push the ball the other way. Gunderson waiting for an option, and Sam will throw it forward. It's headed by Klum-Stockton. Nakamura is there, the ball bouncing around, and Olsen will play it back for Haywood and all the way back to Garant. Garant's going to float it towards the sideline, and it'll be kept in by one of the Whitman defenders who floats it all the way, and Garand read it the entire way and will make the catch. That's what Lewis and Clark wants. Passes that really have no chance as Remy Marks for Whitman continues to wait to check on. Marks, another one of the players on Whitman from Japan, originally out of Tokyo. Probably been waiting to check on for 3 to 4 minutes now. Whitman player loses his footing. Now it's a Lewis and Clark player who goes down as Olsen pings it towards the sideline, and we've got a foul. Woods is whistled for the contact with Asher Leventhal. Ball played down the sideline, chested down by Pablo Gonzalez Jr. On the turf, it's McAllister. Beautiful pass towards the top of the 18, but Haywood stepped in front of the intended recipient, Miranda Ortiz. Nice little give and go, but they're forced to push it all the way back for Valencia. Valencia on the turf for Clum Stockton, gets around Olsen, still with it. Clum Stockton tries to leave it on the turf. And again, Whitman maybe being too unselfish as Garan waits for the pressure to pick it up. Under 25 minutes to go. Saw that with the Whitman women's team. They had quite a few opportunities at the top of the 18 where they just tried to make the extra dribble, the extra pass, and the Pioneers defense was able to close and deny them the opportunity. The Lewis and Clark women's team scored in the 8th minute of their game as we have some pushing and shoving, and they are going to say a whistle and a sub. It's going to be a pair of substitutions. Checking into the game for Whitman, number 13, Remy Marks, for number 22, William Miranda Ortiz. That second player actually was the player waiting to throw it in. So just the one change and another first year for Whitman trying to make a difference in this one. And here's a nice give and go, and the ball slips past. The player goes down. There should be a card, and I think it should be a dive, and instead they're going to give a penalty. I don't know what the AR said to the head ref, but that to me looked like the player did not take much contact. And instead of what should, in my estimation, be a yellow card for embellishment, we will see a penalty kick and a chance for Whitman to get right back into this game 20 minutes after the Pioneers made it 1-0. The foul is on Garan. The referee will talk to the AR. Sheer Walson's talking to him. That did not look like much. The officials, Andres Salcedo Miranda and Mohamed Zayada, are the two ARs, and we'll see Lucas McAllister step up to take the penalty. It'll be McAllister, our player to watch for Whitman, with his 5 goals against Garan, who has faced one penalty this season and did not stop it. Pioneers faithful making a lot of noise. That did not feel like there was a lot of contact from a Pioneers perspective. Big spot with 23:38 remaining. McAllister, right-footed shot, it's saved! The rebound goes in. And we will see the game move to 2-1. Garan gets credit for the penalty kick stop. It will be a goal for McAllister, his 6th of the season. Whitman goal scored by number 10, Lucas McAllister, his 6th of the season. So Garan read the penalty perfectly, unfortunately unable to hold on, and McAllister, by virtue of taking the penalty kick, the first one there, and he's able to put the rebound in to make it 2-1. Still 23:30 to go, and that means it's a lot more pressure on this Pioneers defense. You wanted to hold Whitman for as long as possible. And after what felt like a softish penalty from here, Whitman has life as Ladd able to bring the ball out a little bit, but the Blues hold on. Can Lewis and Clark pull off what would be a monumental upset against the only team without a loss in the conference to earn that first win since being back at the varsity level? Their tie earlier this season snapped a 25-game winless streak. They've had just 2 ties over the past 4 years in countable games. They have earned wins. Lewis and Clark asked for a handball and will be given one as that one bounced up and touched the hand of Riki Kobayashi. Fraser Morrison is a coach that I would say is probably pretty cool over on the sideline, always carries himself very calmly. But this is definitely a big moment for everyone who's been a part of this program. Alfstad on the long free kick. The last time we saw Izenzi struggle to catch an Alfstad free kick, but this time much more comfortable. Gunderson able to knock it down, but the Blues quickly on the ball. Still 22:05 to go. McAllister scored the first one. He's now had a goal or an assist in each of the last 4 games. Ball cleared out just past the edge of the 18, and Gunderson will push it out for a Whitman throw. If you're Lewis and Clark, you can be frustrated by that penalty kick. You can think about that penalty kick, but really, you have to reset mentally. The only way that you're going to stay in this game, the only way that you're going to potentially win this game is if you put it behind you, despite the frustration. From our view up top, and certainly the assistant referee had a different angle, it did not look like much contact between Micaiah Garan and what we think was Whitman's number 9, Fernando Lopez Vega. Weinstein gets ahead on it. The ball bounces around as Nakamura is clearly cramping immediately. Referee says play on, although I think we'll get a stoppage as soon as the ball goes out of play. Look, and we will get a clock stoppage as Nakamura immediately went down as if he needed assistance. Ashir Walson will try to stretch him out, but this is likely going to lead to a substitution for Lewis and Clark. Schwartz is over there looking at Fraser Morrison. Tara Boatman, one of Lewis and Clark's trainers, is coming out to check on Nakamura, who's quite the tough cookie. Remember, he's the one who went through a surfing accident where the surf actually dragged him under. Came back to Lewis and Clark for his sophomore year as he's trying to pump up the crowd right now. The big old bruise underneath one of his eyes, but he appears to be okay as he gives his teammates a pep talk while walking off. It'll be Ben Schwartz, number 6, to replace him. Nakamura is not necessarily done for the game. He can sub back in once more. Schwartz, though, subbing on for the second time. Well, subbing back on after coming off earlier in the half. If he is subbed off, his day will be done. Ben, one of a number of seniors on this Pioneers team who are still looking for that first regular season win. Came to Lewis and Clark in the fall of 2022 as the first group for a program that hadn't played since 1991 as Haywood loses his footing and somehow able to get back up before he could be dispossessed. Bouncing around, Painter with some good footwork for Ladd. Ladd works it back for Alfstad, ahead for Woods, and it's Weinstein bringing it down. Weinstein, though, dispossessed. That was some nice passing, but Whitman gets it back with 20 to go. Walson pretty obviously fouled the Whitman player. And we will see a free kick just inside midfield with under 20 to go. It'll be Valencia to take this one, and I would expect this ball will be pinged into the box. Valencia towards the top of the 6. Bounces around off a Whitman player. Cleared away by Olsen. Not out of danger yet. Weinstein back out to Valencia, who's going to try to push it back into the box. Alstad will head it out only as far as Serrano. Klum Stockton tried to get a shot off, and it's put in. 2-2. 2 goals in less than 5 or 6 minutes. And it looks like it is Remy Marks, the substitute, off the assist from Elliot Klum Stockton. So just like that, Whitman has tied this game at 2-2. So we see a foul against the Blues, and this was always the worry. Once Whitman got it first, wanted it to be as late as possible so that the Blues didn't have time to not only potentially get a second, but even a potential game winner. Lewis and Clark needs to buckle down. Gunderson floats it towards the back post. Couple Pioneers there, but Izenzi easily rises up to win it. It is not easy to win a game from a position you're not used to playing in. And it sounds strange. Why would it be hard to win from a 2-0 lead? Well, Lewis and Clark has not had a multiple goal lead at any point over the past 4 years. It's not foreign to any of these players. They've all played soccer for their entire lives, but it is a different mindset. Lewis and Clark so often has been playing low-scoring games, has so often been playing maybe from a goal behind, even 2, or tied. Had a couple one-goal leads, but Whitman able to get the penalty kick goal and then a second. That ball took a fortuitous bounce to the Blues, right to Marks, who put a right-footed shot in just inside the far post. And it's 2-2 now with 18 minutes to go. A lot of time left for either side as Ishan Abraham waits to check in for the Pioneers. Whitman continues to have the lion's share of the possession here in the second half, even now with a 2-2 tie rather than trailing 2-0. We will see a substitution. Lewis and Clark substitution, number 22, Ishan Abraham, for number 32, Raf Ladd. Ladd has put in a great performance, including scoring his first collegiate goal. Abraham, another one of those seniors for Lewis and Clark out of San Francisco, California, looking to be an impact sub here in the final 16-plus minutes. Still tons of time left, still tons to play for both of these sides. Whitman's looking to stay top of the Northwest Conference. Lewis and Clark looking for that elusive first point of the year. Pioneers earned a tie in their first year back in the Northwest Conference back in 2023 at George Fox. Last year they went 0-16 in conference and off to an 0-4 start to conference play going into this one. They held a 2-0 lead early in the second half. 2 goals scored in a matter of minutes from the Blues. 66-16, 69-23. We're talking 3 minutes and 7 seconds to tie this game at 2. The first off a penalty kick that felt a bit harsh for Lewis and Clark. The second, a ball that bounced to Marks and he took advantage. Walson looking to push through. Valencia is back and a nice cutback to retain possession with Walson closing in. Play it back for Izenzi. 15.5 to go in the first of 2 meetings between these two teams this year. Pioneers will travel up to Walla Walla on November the 2nd, Halloween weekend, the second to last weekend of conference play. Gunderson battling along the sideline, and a good play to keep it alive there by Lopez Vega. Crosses the back post just out of the reach of McAllister, and they're going to say it's out off a Pioneer for a corner kick. Whitman corner to be taken by number 8, Riki Kobayashi. See a right-footed in-swinger coming from Kobayashi. So Lewis and Clark is going to have to absorb a little bit more pressure. Stats were pretty even at halftime. Shots are now 11-8 in favor of Whitman after the Pioneers led 5-4 at the break. Here's a right-footed shot and a line drive caught by Garan off the foot of McAllister. McAllister had his penalty shot stopped, but he was able to pick up the rebound and an easy finish with Garan still on the turf. 6 goals, 3 assists for the leading scorer for the Blues. This one flutters in the midfield. A couple players there for either side, and it finds Lopez Vega. Battling to win it back is Walson, and Walson gets a piece there of Clum Stockton and a yellow card. A yellow card has been assessed to Lewis and Clark's number 11, Ashir Walson. Clock is stopped with 13:53 to go. Valencia to take the free kick. Pings it towards the back post, and Garan comes off his line as he's done so frequently today. And we'll hold on with 13:45 to play. Garan will boot this one deep. Goes off the head of Stockton, off his hand. Too close to give a handball, but Stockton maybe lost that one in the lights as it was an absolutely booming goal kick from Garan. This ball floated deep, but a bit too deep for any Whitman attackers. Closing in on 13 minutes to play. Both teams will have subs. Trevor Koo waiting to check on the football/men's soccer player who's getting a rare opportunity to play both sports in the same weekend. Headed away by Valencia. Woods battles to bring it back, and it's picked up by the Blues for a moment. Abraham battling, and it's Valencia floating out towards midfield. Gunderson settles for Painter, right back. Sam holding off a defender and finds the foot of Abraham. 12:45 to go. Lewis and Clark led 2-0. Whitman answered with 2 goals in a 3-minute and 30-second span. And it has stayed that way for about 7 minutes now. Walson out wide for Schwartz. Ben looking for a right-footed shot. It's deflected, and Izenzi will pick up the loose ball, but that'll just go as a blocked shot, not a save. Long ball the other way, and Olsen wins it. Emmett Olsen and Talon Haywood have both had great games despite conceding 2 goals. Haywood steps in front. It'll go out, and we'll get a stoppage of the clock and a horn. So we will see those substitutes for either side. Lewis and Clark substitution. Number 17, Trevor Koo for number 9, Alex Woods. For Whitman, number 5, Alex Evans. For number 11, Elliot Clum Stockton. And number 16, Takiro Hikita. For number 9, Fernando Lopez Vega. Koo, the place kicker on the football team, who scored a goal last year in an exhibition game here at home. And I'd say it speaks a lot to his work ethic that he has been able to do both. As Gunderson is taken out there as the ball was going out by Kobayashi, and so it'll stay with Lewis and Clark. For Koo, this is just his second appearance of the year, played 19 minutes. So the referee just gave a yellow card, we think, to Kobayashi. And on the ensuing free kick, it'll go all the way down. So I mentioned Koo's only played 19 minutes this year. It came against Bushnell back on the 31st of August. He's played in every football game this year. He's hit all his field goals, all of his PATs for the 3-0 football team that is earning votes in the D3Football.com poll each of the past 3 weeks. The team hadn't earned votes in the D3Football.com poll since 2011, just the second, third, and fourth time in program history. Koo has taken over as the place kicker for Tian Huang, who was the team's kicker each of the last 2 years and transferred to D1 Weber State. As they say, that throw-in goes back to Whitman. Got multiple balls on the field, and eventually they're going to give a free kick and a foul on, I believe it was Alstad. But that was bizarre because it looked like it just went out for a throw and didn't seem like anyone was quite sure what was going on the far side. 10-17 to go. Whitman scored the last 2. Lewis and Clark scored the first 2. And it has been 2-2 for just about 10 minutes now. Shot from distance, and it's well wide of the post. Pulled wide by Remy Marks, who scored the most recent goal. I think Lewis and Clark obviously wanted the win, would be the team more content with a point. Whitman is certainly pushing for that third goal to come all the way back. Garand to take this goal kick. Bounces up. And it's not quite yet won by Hikita. Eventually it'll come back for Haywood. Finds Gunderson trying to hold off a player. Loses it for a moment. And Painter able to win it back for Olsen. Olsen for Schwartz, who gets pushed off the ball by the other number 6. That's Clum Stockton. Corralled by McAllister. His pass knocked away. And it'll be Abraham playing up the sideline for Koo. Lewis and Clark with the throw-in with 9 minutes to go in regulation. No overtime, so we'll need to have a 5th goal in this one or the points will be shared. Koo runs into a Whitman player who goes down, but the AR says it's just going to be a throw. Referee has not stopped the clock yet, and now he will. 8:39 to go, and that Whitman player who is down will be treated. Koo went up, battling for it with the Whitman player, as the Whitman head coach is asking to have a conversation with Eric Romero along the far side. No card has come out. And in reality, this wasn't a foul according to the AR. This was just a throw-in as Koo went up with Asher Leventhal. Leventhal is going to come out, and it's going to be Pablo Gonzalez Jr. replacing him. Whitman substitution. Number 4, Pablo Gonzalez Jr. for number 26, Asher Leventhal. So Leventhal forced to exit. And with 8:39 to go, Lewis and Clark will have a throw-in along just in front of the Whitman bench. Walson leaves it off for Abraham. Abraham looking for help with 2 defenders around him. Gets through one, gets tripped up, and the referee will give the foul. That should be a penalty. It looked like he was inside the box. They're going to say just outside. Abraham certainly landed in the box. And we will see a free kick. It's hard to tell, I will admit. Red on green at night. I am partially colorblind. I thought that foul was even deeper into the box. Abraham tumbled into it, but looks like he was just outside. The ball spotted on the 0 of the 10. The 18-yard box for soccer starts basically at the left edge of the 1. If that's easier, you can kind of see the 0 where the ball is spotted. Gunderson behind it. This is probably going to be a shot. Big spot in this game. Gunderson will lift it just high. couldn't get it up and down in time. That is a tricky spot as the ball is quickly restarted, and Izenzi is going to be told, you got to wait a little bit longer as he tried to get that ball back into play quickly with under 7.5 to go. Good opportunity for Lewis and Clark, unable to find that 5th goal of the contest, and 7:15 left on the clock. Lewis and Clark opened the scoring with 15 minutes left in the first half, added a second 3 minutes into the second half. Whitman scored off a penalty kick. Lucas McAllister had his initial shot saved, but picked up the rebound and scored, and then scored less than 3.5 later to tie the game at 2 with 20 minutes to go. Serrano brings it down for McAllister. Lewis and Clark asking for a handball. They'll get it. Believe it's going to be on McAllister. Could have been on Serrano. Both players had the ball bounce up high on them. Clock continues to run with just over 6.5 to play. Referee asking Olsen to move. And Emmett will boot it right to the head of Schwartz. Brought down by Weinstein. Weinstein had the first goal of the game for Lewis and Clark. Whitman works down the sideline. Alfstad and Abraham trying to win back the ball. Going forward, McAllister, a toe poke, pushes it out wide for Hikita. Back post, 2 players in the vicinity, brought down by Marks. Marks, just for Serrano, hits the backside of his leg, and Stockton, a rifle that is saved by Garan. Jude Cullum Stockton, number 6, with an absolute rifle of a shot, but Micaiah Garan up to the task. That was probably Garan's best save, not only of the day, but maybe of the season. 5.5 to go. Certainly one of the more impactful saves when you consider just how little time is left in this contest. Lewis and Clark has a sub waiting to check on. That'll result in another clock stoppage. They're going to bring Ladd back into the game when they have an opportunity. So this is Abraham pushing it back for Haywood. Tried to cross it. Ended up going right into the groin area there of Serrano. And it will stay with Whitman. So Lewis and Clark can't sub with under 5 to go, and the clock continues to run. Whitman gets the ball back in. They'll push it to the near side for Gonzalez Jr. All the way out wide for Akita, met by Gunderson, who wins it. Trying to hold off Akita, still with it, somehow able to almost find Weinstein, but stepping in front was Alex Evans. Evans hasn't played a lot in this one, but able to win that ball back. Right-footed shot will go high. We'll get a goal kick and a clock stoppage here as Lewis and Clark will be allowed to sub. Schwartz has put in a really good performance in this one, but the senior will have to wait out the final 4:22, and his only impact will be able to cheer his teammates on and give direction. 4:22 left. Lewis and Clark looking for their first ever home result in conference play. They had a 0-0 tie at George Fox. They had a 2-2 tie earlier this year against Northwest Washington. Can they get a conference result here at home? Nearly had one in either of their games last week, in which they gave up winners in the 89th and 90th minutes. Walson able to steal the ball away. Pushes it out wide, looking for Ladd. Read nicely by Gonzalez Jr., but it will go back to Lewis and Clark with under 4 to go. Nobody has to worry about tired legs in this one. It's cooler on a Friday night, and there's no game for tomorrow. Teams will be off till Sunday at 2:45, so anything you have left in the tank, exhaust right now. Gunderson tries to put it into the box. Weinstein against the defender, and Koo goes down. Maybe a little bit soft, certainly was looking for it, but Koo almost had the turn. That would have been a dramatic moment. Lewis and Clark has conceded on a penalty they thought was soft. That would have been softer, I will admit, even from a Lewis and Clark perspective, but Just the fact that Koo is battling in there as Weinstein gets around his defender. Left-footed shot. Izenzi was not aware to the danger there. Unfortunately, it floated high. Ball immediately restarted. Whitman with numbers on the far side. Serrano, left-footed pass out wide for Marks. Has two players in the box. Left-footed cross, knocked away, and Abraham gets there first. Pushes it towards the sideline and out for a throw-in for Whitman. Neither side has anyone ready to check in, as we will see a yellow card on Talon Haywood. A yellow card has been assessed to Lewis and Clark's number 5, Talon Haywood. Whitman brought the ball back in, but the referee wasn't ready. Wilson having a conversation with Eric Romero. And we will get underway. Whitman loses it along the sideline. Wilson trying to chip it forward here for Painter, who floats it forward. Nice header from Valencia to get it out of trouble. Hakito looking for the turn. Gunderson trying to cut it down on the dribbling angle. Gets a foot on it and forces Hakita to turn backwards with 2:15 to go. Lewis and Clark gave up the 2 goals in less than 4 minutes, but they have settled and kept Whitman scoreless for the last 16 to 17 minutes. 2 minutes to go before a potential 2-2 draw. Pioneers looking for their first conference point since late October 2023. Hakita looking to drive past Gunderson, and Gunderson wins the throw. This entire Lewis and Clark back line, Gunderson, Olsen, Haywood, and Alstad have played the full 90 and have played so well. Doesn't matter that they've given up 2. They have been huge against a Whitman team that can score goals in bunches, but they're not out of danger yet. Marks pushes it out wide for McAllister. Already with 1 goal, looking for a second. He's got it. Whitman scores with 1:24 to go. It's McAllister from Marks, and it's 3-2 Blues. This time it's Whitman's turn to send their subs running down the sideline to celebrate. For the 3rd consecutive game, Lewis and Clark has conceded a go-ahead goal in the final 2 minutes. 1:24 on the clock. First off, an absolutely brilliant strike from McAllister. I don't think a professional goalie necessarily gets to that shot that was blasted across the frame. We will see a substitution, and it's going to be Kobayashi coming off here. And it looks like number 21, Chapko, coming back on. So Lewis and Clark will have 1:24 to potentially tie this one up. Haywood sends it forward with Lewis and Clark throwing bodies forward. Serrano amongst 3 white shirts, and it's won by Walson. Walson out wide for Abraham. Throws it towards net, but easily collected by Azenzi, who will lie down and take as much time as the referee will allow him to. 1 minute to play. Azenzi will boot this one deep. It's Marks trying to push it ahead for Serrano. Marks has had a great game here in the second half off the bench. The game-tying goal, the game go-ahead assist. Not necessarily a game winner. Still 40 seconds for Lewis and Clark to play with. Zenzi will send it deep as Weinstein had to slow down his tackle to make sure to avoid any contact with the goalie. Gunderson trying to win it back without conceding a foul. Good play by Clum Stockton out to the far side for Marks. Will he go to the corner flag with 20? It's still Marks with it. Left-footed cross headed in. Whitman goal scored by number 20, Kevin Serrano. Assist to number 13, Remy Marks. I think everyone on Lewis and Clark anticipated Whitman was going to go to the corner flag. Instead, Marks a pinpoint perfect cross to the head of the local kid, Kevin Serrano. This game is going to look in the box score as if Whitman controlled the game. Certainly not the case if you've been with us for the full 90 minutes. And unfortunately, we have 13 seconds left. A lot of deflated faces on Lewis and Clark. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The final score of today's game, Whitman 4, Lewis and Clark 2. The Pioneers will be back in action on Sunday at 2:45 when they host Whitworth. Thanks so much for coming out. Drive home safely. Certainly a disappointing, deflating loss for Lewis and Clark. Their first ever 2-goal lead, their third ever game with multiple goals scored. Unfortunately, Whitman with just too much time, and there's some frustration from some of the Lewis and Clark players about the penalty. I think that was the turning point in this second half. It's the second consecutive weekend the Pioneers have conceded a penalty they thought was soft. They didn't agree with. Some players will shake hands with the referees, but certainly some frustration. The penalty did not decide this game, but it certainly helped Whitman's comeback efforts. They continue to push, and they are deserved winners. As we will take a commercial break, we will wrap it up shortly here on Pio Stream. My name is Seth Dorensky, bringing you all the action. In the end, Whitman 4-2 winners, 4 goals in the final 25 minutes.
This broadcast on Pio Stream is brought to you by the Lewis and Clark Alumni Marketplace. Go to lcpioneers.com/marketplace and search for products and services offered by Lewis and Clark alumni, including at the Mind on Fire Institute, something happens that you can't do on your own. It's a space where you're allowed to explore freely and discover new perspectives. It's not quite a class, it's something more. We're not just thinking, we're igniting sparks. Leave charged up, fueled by what others say about the same things you've been pondering. For the price of a gym membership, the Mind on Fire Institute returns you to the humanities, with sessions on topics like the French decadent movement and Livy's history of Rome. Visit mindonfireinstitute.com to embrace learning as a lifestyle. Discover the power of collaborative thought. Sign up for the newsletter at mindonfireinstitute.com and get 1 month free via the Lewis and Clark Alumni Marketplace.